everybody, and welcome to the Something Comes Along podcast. The premise of this podcast is that people are dealing with the twists and turns of everyday life, and then something comes along, a piece of news, an event, typically of the bad news variety, and each episode we discuss how people navigate that event which has appeared unwanted and uninvited into their lives. I'm joined by Melanie Richardson, or Mel as most people know her by, who is a legend of the legal industry. I know how many years she's been in the legal industry, but I'm far too polite to use that number out loud. She has been a massive friend to myself and Totum for many years, and is currently the PA to the senior HR leadership team at Linklaters. Welcome, Mel.
Thank you, Gary.
Did you like that introduction?
It was immense. Who is this woman?
I nearly went for institution of the legal sector, but I decided that legend was. Would you prefer that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I'm also joined by Tiffany Sims, Tiff, who I've been lucky enough to work with now for over 10 years. When Tiff first joined Totum, it was at those days pre-COVID when people actually saw each other more, and lots of people joined our offices, and she very much was the face of Totum for many people who came into contact with us, and she's now moved on to much broader business roles within Totum. So welcome, Tiff.
Thank you very much.
Mel and Tiff, it's like a pop act.
It is the dynamic duo.
A dynamic duo. So Tiff, let me go to the crux of the matter. So let me start with you. What came into your life relatively recently? Roughly when and what was it?
So February last year, I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer.
And as a matter of interest, when you, I assume you knew there was something wrong. You had tests. What was the period of time between you wondering what was wrong, hoping something wasn't, kind of fearing the worst, but hoping for the best before you actually found out?
2 weeks. So I found my lump on the Friday night. I was at the doctor's Monday morning and they rushed me through extremely quickly. They were amazing. And then the following Thursday, I had my biopsy. So then 2 weeks later, we got the results. So 4 weeks, really.
And do you mind me asking, how old were you at that point?
36. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out.
Well, not at all, no. And I was doing a little bit of kind of research, over the last few days, and about how common breast cancer is. Still very common, the most common form of cancer, I think. But I mean, that you were relatively young. You were very young, I think, for that diagnosis to happen to you.
Yes, very, very young. And I did ask my breast nurse, are they ever going to bring down the age of mammograms? Because I am reading a lot more now of younger women being diagnosed with breast cancer, but it's still a minority. It's a huge minority to the average age of it.
Mel, talk me through what happened, to you.
Okay, so it was September 2023, and I went for a regular mammogram, and I'm quite ashamed to say that I'd never had one before. And I went in and I had my mammo, and I literally flounced out and said, I'll see you in 3 years. And within 3 days, I'd had a call back.
And, a stupid question. It's probably the most stupid question I'll ask you on this podcast. But thinking back, can you remember sort of what on earth flashes through your mind with that news, and for the coming days and weeks till you get some clarity?
Well, the callback was, I was like, oh, that's a bit odd. And I spoke to a couple of my friends. One of them's a PA for a cancer surgeon, an oncologist, and she said, "Oh, it's your first one. Perhaps there's some thick tissue. Don't worry until you go back." And so I still didn't really, because there's no history in my family. I just was, I suppose, in denial. This is not happening to me.
What was the sort of the diagnosis, and what was the treatment that they said to you that you needed?
Well, when I went back after the 3 days, it was really odd, and I thought, this isn't good, because they made me a cup of tea. And I went into the room, and they say the C word, and I don't think I went into shock. I went into PA mode. I think, right, what are we doing? What can we do? What's the prognosis? But of course, what they don't tie in with you at that point is, and I think Tiff will agree here, the horror. It really is the waiting game. It's like, okay, we've done a biopsy now and it's definitely cancer, and now you've got to wait to see the surgeon, and then you've got to wait to see what the surgeon says, and then you got, so really that, I think that's the first thing. It's like, because you want action then,
You want
and
it out straight away.
yeah, but it feels almost alien, I would say. But you have to wait your turn, because so many people are now going for their tests. Um, and I got used to I was horrified by the fact, watching Stand Up to Cancer Bake Off, and it's now 1 in 2 instead of 1 in 5. But actually, the really great truth of that is that people take this seriously. It's affecting more families, more friends, more colleagues, and you go and have your tests. And that's really why the numbers have gone up so prolifically.
Does that chime, Tiff?
Very much so. I remember they were very blasé about my lump. It's just a lump. But because I was over 35, they sent me for the biopsy. And so I went back in, and we didn't have any childcare that day. So Mark and my son Harry came with me, and I left them outside. I was like, it's fine, I'm going to go in on my own. And I remember walking into the room, and I was being introduced to all these people, and still it didn't click that this is something bad. There was a breast nurse, um, the consultant, a radiographer, like loads of other people, and they just sat down, and it was, it has come back as something. And I just remember the first thing I asked was, "Am I going to die?" Because that is the first thing I think a lot of people associate with cancer. You get cancer, you're going to die, and obviously, sadly, sometimes that is the case, but a lot of cases it isn't. And treatment has come on so much now that they're quick at getting to it. And I think what you said, Mel, we we're more aware. We check our bodies. We don't sit on it, and we go straight to the doctors.
I also think that as a result of, certainly with your circle and my circle, Tiff, it's encouraged other people to go and get help. And, 3 of my friends got breast cancer, in the same kind of cancer that I got. And when I say that, I didn't need chemotherapy. I only needed radiotherapy, and I'm now on a hormone suppressant for 5 years. You know, and I almost felt ashamed to share that with Tiff, because her journey was so different. You know.
But my journey was so different because I am younger. I had my lumpectomy, and they got my cancer out. It hadn't gone to my lymph nodes. So really, the day of my operation, I was technically cancer free. They only gave me chemo because I was young, and they wanted to make sure that it would never come back, which is probably the most traumatizing stage of my cancer journey. You know, the being diagnosed and then it going was quite quick, and it was gone.
You do feel, the day after you wake up from, when you wake up from your op, you do think, "Oh, thank God that's gone."
But
It,
then you have to wait 2 weeks to actually be told it's definitely gone.
that's another issue that Tiff and I have spoken about, is, you they hold back some of the stuff, because actually the only histology that really matters is post-operative histology, because that's when they confirm what stage it is. That's when you learn a whole new vernacular. You're actually you're doing an MA in cancer. You're learning, and actually that gives you something to focus on rather than catastrophizing. For me, I didn't touch Google.
No.
It was a day of truth at a time, and we as a family dealt with what was happening on that day.
I was going to ask that
Mm.
actually. Did you both avoid the kind of rabbit hole of Googling what my percentage
Yeah.
chances are?
Completely.
And
Completely.
were you advised to do that? Were you advised not to do that, or just
No, no, I just wanted to I wanted to keep I wanted to keep protect my family and keep factual. You know,
Mm.
anything that I read online felt hypothetically to me. And my breast nurses, they they are still part of my family. I mean, we go dog walking, and they're incredible. They are, they were there for me so much, and there for my partner. Um, they really, I don't know how they do that job. It's humbling. It's humbling.
can I just ask you both about how you went about telling people the news? I mean, what did you do, and you glad you did what you did?
Go on, Tiff, you go first.
And
Without
I don't know
without
why
making me cry, please, Tiff.
I don't know why. Well, no, my story is my whole entire family were at a funeral the day I was diagnosed. And I remember leaving and saying to Mark, they all know I'm there. They all know I was going to get results. I was like, how do I tell them that actually it's not great news? I can't call them. They're all at a funeral. Um, so I sent a WhatsApp to the family group,
How
and
very
I
modern, Tiff.
so modern, and I just said, look, it's not great news. I know you're all out, but I'll call you mum later. I'll call my sister later. And then the next person I phoned was Catherine, my manager. 'Cause she's become a very, very, very good close friend and confidant, and I like the way her mind works, and I needed to talk to her. I couldn't get my mum, so I went to Catherine.
Yeah, I was with my partner, and we were both a little bit shell shocked. Um, and I didn't feel ready to tell my son really at that point until I really knew what I was up against. So we had friends down, and we just went out for a curry, and we were normal. It was a Friday. I was not. We were be. I just wanted, you know. I mean, I think I actually said to them, if you don't treat me the same, I'm going to tear you all limb from limb. Don't be nice to me. You know, I didn't want that at all. It's, we're in it together. We're going to deal with it. Don't be nice. You've never been nice, so just carry on.
And what about the broader support from friends or external bodies? Has anything surprised you or amazed you or disappointed you?
It's like a surging oil tanker.
Yeah.
I remember actually saying to Tiff, come on, we need to go out. I haven't seen you for ages. And she said, well, you're going to have to wait because I'm in your gang now.
Yeah. I remember texting you. I joined the BC club.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
called it back then.
yeah. Um, it just broke me because of Tiff's age, really. I felt fraudulent watching what Tiff was going through.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
did.
oh Mel.
And we kind of really, really, we brought the humour in it. But I mean, I would
I
say
think you
probably
have to.
dark
Yeah, there was a
humour.
lot of dark humour, but I think sometimes that's the only way to get through it. And also, we had good diagnosis. My surgeon said from the start, this is completely curable, and I held on to that. That was my right. He knows he's going to get it out, and he did. And my partner Mark he's I I'm quite pessimistic. He's an optimistic, and he's always, we're going to get this just one day at a time. We've just got to get through it. He asked all the questions because I didn't really take it in. All I took in is I've got cancer. Um, and yeah, you just take each day. You take each day, and
And
the
the
love.
people you choose to share with, I
Mm,
think you kind of know who your go-to tribe are. And it's extraordinary.
the
I
love
mean,
that I've
yeah.
encountered. I didn't told all of my family, and I told a few of my friends, and I told obviously the whole of Totum. Totum were with me every step of the way. Um, the outpouring of love and support is what gets you through it. the kindness of strangers. I remember I was in a supermarket with, obviously I'd lost my hair by then, had my turban on, and I wore a face mask because I just did not want to get ill. And if you get ill when you have chemo, you have to go straight to A&E, and I just did not want another hospital appointment. And there was a woman who was working in the checkout. She had a huge queue of people that she left to come up to me, and she said, "I've been where you are, and it gets better." And I was quite stunned at the time. And
You
then I
didn't know
remember,
she'd spotted you
no
from
idea.
what you're
Yeah, she
wearing.
just, because I was wearing a turban, yeah. And I was stunned, and I left. I didn't really know what to say, and I left it, and I just thought, so it made my day. It made me feel so warm that this woman has just left everything to come over and to tell me actually it does get better, and that's what I needed.
What a lovely story.
Just the love, and before each chemo, I'd send a photo to Totum, all users, with my positive pickle that Lara got me, and positive potato, I think it was, and the rubber duck you got me, Gary.
Cool.
And just,
Don't forget that.
round one.
Don't forget the duck.
No, that made
Yeah.
all the difference. I know. I'm aware of
And
that.
but it did, each time, round one, round two, I was counting the chemos off, and all of the emails that I would get back and read whilst I was having chemo, like, "You've got this, Tiff, one down," or "You're over halfway." It's just, you hold on to stuff like that.
Mel, does work go out the window in that respect? I mean, do you focus on, my God, what life, or do you thinking, my God, I'll never work again, or that? Where does work fit in with the whole thought?
Well, I told some people, I was in another job at the time, and I told some people there, certainly my manager, and they were just, the people that knew were extraordinary, but I just wanted to crack on, so I worked right up until my surgery. I had as far as I was concerned, I had a word in my life that wasn't there before, but I didn't feel any different. There was no difference, so I just carried on. And the support, empathy, all those words, the chats, it was, people were so open. And I think what Tiff said about kindness, people are good. People are good.
There's a lot of good people out there.
What about external organisations? Because what we'll do when we post this, we'll put the links to any organisations that you feel deserve a shout out because of how great they've been. Anyone stand out?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Mel.
The nurses, absolutely the nurses. And sometimes I called up cancer research just for a chat, if I wanted to know about food or something. I thought it was a bit frivolous. If I thought it was a more frivolous question, for the nurses have their hands full, I would ask about body creams and stuff after radiotherapy. And I didn't really want to look at Google because I was scared that not scared, but I thought, some advertisers might be able to infiltrate the algorithm. So I wanted to hear, and they were just superb. And Tiff and I talked about this, and we think, because, okay, we're talking about breast cancer, but we think that the strides that are being made with cancer treatments and research, we want to support cancer research generally, because it's not just about Team Boob, it's about everyone getting the support.
I think for me, the Helen Rollison Centre in Hatfield Peveril has been a lifeline. One that I would drive past regularly and not really notice what it was there for. And it is a centre where you go and they'll do reflexology, they do body massages, they give you counselling, you can have meditation, and it's all charity run. It's all, you just give a donation, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful centre that I still use. I still go down there. Another for me was the Young Women with Breast Cancer. It was a network that I joined, which I my counsellor at Helen Rollison told me about, because there isn't. I haven't met anyone on this journey that's a similar age, other than two women that I met in the chemo unit, actually. But everyone, there was no one my age, no one that I could really speak to about my experience. So they put me in touch with the Young Women with Breast Cancer Network, that was really nice, and we had Zoom calls of just all chatting. But there were a lot of, like you said, I didn't Google anything. But there were a lot of women on there that had Googled a lot of stuff, and it's quite scary actually how scared they were. So it was actually quite nice, because I was at the end of my journey, being able to talk to women at the beginning of their journey, and and they would ask me questions, and they're getting the truth. Not that these forums aren't the truth, but it's an account of what I went through, and that was quite nice.
I think what struck me as well in the educating myself piece was that every single cancer is different, every single one. So therefore, your treatment is different. My radiotherapy was a week, and I thought, oh, a week, great, I'll be back, get back to work, that'd be great. And I was exhausted. I was almost, I felt like I'd been run over by a truck, and I felt so guilty. And anyway, I rang the nurses, and they said, what are you talking about? It's a 3-week course given to you in a week.
Yeah.
It's going to. I said, I feel so jet lagged. And they're like, what should I do? And they're like, have a rest, take a bit of time for yourself. And I think, I can't imagine how it was for you, Tiff, with such a young child. It just, the tiredness just.
Yeah, we survived. Yeah, especially with the chemo. So I'd have chemo on a Tuesday. By the Friday, I was in bed, and I wouldn't be out of bed until Sunday. So Mark would, obviously having a 3-year-old, he'd have to sort him out. He'd look after me. He was working full time. And we'd go to bed each night, and we'd just say we've survived the day, and then we get up and we go again. I mean, the best week was when Harry had chickenpox and I had chemo. So
Excellent.
that was a week to remember. But with radiotherapy, I had 2 weeks of radiotherapy. And it's every day, and it's a different tiredness to the chemo. Chemo wipes you out. You know, I can't really even describe how that makes you feel. But with the radiotherapy, you are tired. It's just you're just a bit sluggish, slow, and
Yeah, it is like jet lag, you know.
mm,
But and you think how you think, oh, it'll be over in 12 hours.
I know.
And
But I think for me, I hated every moment of the radiotherapy. I hate, you lay on this machine and you're only on there. The radiotherapy is seconds, but it takes 15 minutes to line you up. And I got to the end of it. I'm so tired of having strangers touch my body. I'm just tired of walking into a room and it was just acceptable that I'm going to take my top off. And, over the course of 10 days, I've seen 30 different nurses.
What have you, both of you, we'll start with you, Tiff, what have you learned about yourself most during this journey?
I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. As a typical woman, I've never particularly liked my body. We don't like how we look. And I've never been more proud of my body, because it's my body that's got me through this, how it bounced back every time, each round of chemo. Yes, I'd be wiped out, but then I'd feel my body is getting stronger. It's doing its thing. It's fighting it, and yeah, I'm resilient. I'm strong.
Thank you. Good for you. Mel?
yeah, I've learned to say no to things,
Yeah, and
and
that.
also self-care, you know, eating organic, less sugar, trying to avoid it totally, reading about what goes in, choose my sugar carefully.
Yeah,
We choose our sugar carefully,
yeah.
Tiff. Um, just who knew that, eating well, exercising, and resting, works,
Exercise is
really,
huge.
absolutely huge part
It
of recovery.
Yeah, and exercising stops the breast cancer from returning 40%. Yeah, it's huge.
Is that
I
right?
was
Um,
lucky
40%?
as part of my recovery, I was offered 20 PT sessions at where I went for my radiotherapy, and I've carried on with a
yeah.
PT because I don't trust myself not to turn up. And I'm really lucky at work as well. You get free PT here, and yeah, I miss it when I don't do it.
Mm,
It's, I really, really notice that. And I feel good about that because
mm.
that's just for me. It's my contract with me of
Yeah, I'm
wellness.
starting that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the rehabilitation, which I didn't know, you know, it's 20 weeks of a PT. It's phenomenal, and that's
Yeah,
all fully funded.
yeah, it is
It's
phenomenal.
I must admit, when I was looking last night and ahead of the call and researching, I was looking for statistics, but I hadn't actually realised that that health and fitness can play such a part, and how many people then go on to do amazing things because that was the catalyst. It's a catalyst you wouldn't want it, but it
Yeah.
was the catalyst. What is your so what is the prognosis now for both of you? What do you have to do in terms of further testing and milestone?
Okay, well, I had my year all clear last November, and going for that appointment was challenging.
bigger point.
Big appointment, and I would say that I have to take a hormone suppressant for 5 years. So I'm, 18 months down with that. I'm really, really lucky that I haven't had any side effects from it. In fact, I feel great. I feel better than I have, and I think part of that is mentally. I feel that I've taken the opportunity for a second chance, and I'm not going to mess it up. I'm going to live life well.
So I'm on a hormone suppressant, tamoxifen, which has a lot of bad press. I mean, I didn't Google it, but if you Google it, you only ever hear the horror stories. But touch wood, I haven't had any side effects. My body's dealing with it well. I have to take calcium tablets every day as well, and I have to have an injection every 3 months called Zoladex, which is reducing my estrogen because my cancer was fed by my estrogen. They have to bring that down, which it's not a very nice injection. It's like a grain of rice being injected into you, which is delightful. The caveat with that is because they're reducing my estrogen, I have to have a DEXA scan every 2 years because reducing my estrogen, it's not good for your bones. So my bones are naturally thinning. So again, exercise is going to help with keeping them nice and strong, and obviously the calcium tablets. And I have yearly mammograms. So I had my first of my yearlies last month, which came back clear, and I will have them every year until I'm 50, and then I will go into the national 3 year when I'm 50.
Mel, something you said right at the start. You said something like you're ashamed that you'd never had one before. Is that because you weren't offered one, or you didn't?
It was it was just moving houses and not getting the letters. It was just and also I foolishly thought, oh well, there's no cancer in my family anyway. So I just thought it was, in the way that I flounced out of the mammo, you know, it was, yeah, extraordinary attitude, you know.
Final question for me, for both of you, is advice for other people who, will have just received a similar diagnosis to you guys, and it could be any illness, couldn't it? They've just received some news. Looking back now to your, I hate the word journeys, but I'm going to say it again. What advice would you give to that person?
Well, call if you know us, call
I was
us,
just about
whatever
to say that.
whatever it
Please
is,
do.
you know.
Mm,
You're not alone, and people let the people, the experts, walk alongside you as well, but also let the people who've walked it with their friends, their families, their colleagues, let them share. You always pick something up when you're having a chat with somebody about what you've been through, even if it's about, the latest supplement that, that may work, may not work, but I've got a list as long as you're up. I rattle these days because, I'll give that a go. Why not? I'd rather take something and someone's advice and see whether it works for me. And together with our, collaborating with friends who have been through this, we're able to support one another.
It's when you get that diagnosis, it's so scary, but I feel I've become part of the nicest community. It's a community
Agreed.
you don't ever want to be a part of, but once you're in it, there's nothing better. And the support of loved ones, of everyone, it's rubbish, but it's also amazing.
Brings out the best
Yeah,
in people. I think I had the best outcome from the worst news. And life is to really be valued, and life is great.
and also check your bodies. If it doesn't feel right, go to the doctors,
And
get it
go
checked.
and get the checkups that are offered you. If
Early
you get a letter,
diagnosis
is
is
key.
what makes the difference.
Based on what you said, Mel, it doesn't matter if it's not history in your family. You could be the start point, couldn't you? So
It
find out.
doesn't
Just go.
discriminate.
No.
Cancer doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're young, old, fit, healthy. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Unhealthy. It,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't care.
Go for your tests when you get the letter. Go and have what you're offered.
Yeah, definitely.
And just so a couple of thank yous. Maybe one is thank you for looking after each other. Good for you.
Always a pleasure, Tiff.
Been a
And
ride.
thank you for joining today. I mean, you're amazingly brave. Inspirational stuff, and you other people will benefit from listening to you who are at a different point of this cycle. So thank you, because it's not an easy thing to do. So good for you both. Thanks for joining me today. I will say goodbye. Thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of Something Comes Along podcast, which is a Totum Partners production. All the very best.